Seniors, for decades, most of us were taught to trust what felt familiar. A plate in the morning. A routine repeated for years. Eggs meant strength. Eggs meant protein. Eggs meant security in a world where nutrition advice constantly changed. But something began to unsettle me during surgical recovery evaluations with older adults. Patients who believed they were doing everything right were not rebuilding tissue the way we expected. Their recovery curves flattened. Their resilience dipped. Quiet changes that were easy to dismiss individually, yet impossible to ignore when patterns emerged across case after case. Late one evening reviewing nutritional comparison tables, I remember staring at marine food composition archives that catalog thousands of edible ocean species, numbers that most people will never see, profiles detailing amino acid densities, lipid structures, trace mineral saturation, data that rarely makes headlines, rarely appears in public dietary messaging, and rarely shapes everyday choices. It raised a question that lingered longer than I expected. If the ocean contains such diversity of biological nutrition, why do aging populations rely so heavily on the narrowest band of protein familiarity? Age shifts physiology in ways few discuss openly. Digestive signaling changes, cellular uptake slows. Protein metabolism, meaning how the body breaks down and distributes amino acids, becomes less efficient. Familiar foods still nourish, but sometimes not with the same potency. When we layered age-adjusted metabolic models over nutrient bioavailability datasets, certain marine sources consistently revealed compound structures that interacted differently with inflammation markers and recovery signaling. Bioavailability, in simple language, determines whether nutrients actually reach tissues or simply pass through unnoticed, and that distinction grows sharper with age. In this video, we're going to uncover and rank 5 of these seafoods, moving from least to most impactful. Stay with me, because number 2 displayed absorption behavior and cellular support signals that made even experienced reviewers pause, and understanding why may change how you view protein after 75. Tell me something first. How old are you, and where are you watching from tonight? I read through your comments carefully and respond whenever I can. Now, let's step into number 5, the overlooked ocean protein, whose quiet complexity rarely reaches the surface of conversation. Number 5. Shrimp. Most people think of shrimp as party food, something you dip in cocktail sauce at a holiday gathering and never think about again. But if you are over 75, shrimp might be one of the most underrated nutritional tools available to you right now, and the science backing this up is incredibly compelling. A single 4-ounce serving of shrimp delivers roughly 24 grams of high-quality complete protein, with virtually zero fat and almost no calories. To put that in perspective, you would need to eat about 3.5 large eggs to get the same amount of protein. And with those eggs comes over 700 milligrams of cholesterol and about 15 grams of fat that your aging liver now has to process. Shrimp flips that equation entirely. You get dense, bioavailable protein without the metabolic burden, and that matters enormously when your body's systems are working with reduced capacity. But the protein is only part of the story. Shrimp is one of the richest natural sources of a compound called astaxanthin, which is the pigment that gives shrimp its pink color. Astaxanthin is a carotenoid antioxidant that researchers at the University of Washington found to be up to 6,000 times more powerful than vitamin C at neutralizing free radicals. For aging bodies dealing with chronic oxidative stress, which is one of the primary drivers of cellular aging and age-related diseases, this is a massive deal. Astaxanthin has been shown in clinical trials to cross the blood-brain barrier, which means it can directly protect your brain cells from the kind of oxidative damage that contributes to cognitive decline and memory loss. On top of all that, shrimp is loaded with selenium, a mineral that plays a critical role in thyroid function and immune defense, both of which tend to weaken significantly after 75. A study from Tufts University found that seniors with adequate selenium levels had 40% stronger immune responses to common infections compared to those who were deficient. Now, when it comes to preparing shrimp for maximum benefit, simplicity is your best friend. The worst thing you can do is bread it and deep fry it, because that destroys the astaxanthin and adds inflammatory oils your body does not need. Instead, lightly sauté your shrimp in extra virgin olive oil with some garlic and a squeeze of fresh lemon juice. The olive oil actually helps your body absorb the astaxanthin more efficiently because it is a fat-soluble compound, and the garlic adds its own anti-inflammatory benefits through a compound called allicin. You can also steam shrimp and toss them into a salad or eat them cold, which preserves virtually all of the nutrients. Aim for about 3 to 4 servings per week, and always choose wild-caught over farm-raised when possible because wild-caught shrimp contain higher concentrations of astaxanthin and fewer contaminants. But as impressive as shrimp is, the next seafood on our list takes muscle protection to an entirely different level. But before we move forward, give this video a like and subscribe. What's ahead could change everything for your health. Number 4. Mackerel. When most people hear about omega-3 fatty acids, they immediately think of salmon, and we will absolutely get to salmon later in this list. But there is a seafood that actually contains even higher concentrations of these essential fats per serving, and it is one that most seniors have completely overlooked. Mackerel, particularly Atlantic mackerel, packs roughly 2.6 grams of omega-3 fatty acids per 3-ounce serving, which is actually more than most types of salmon give you. And when you are over 75, omega-3 fatty acids are not just nice to have, they are absolutely critical for survival. Your body at this age is fighting a constant battle against chronic inflammation, which is the underlying driver of heart disease, arthritis, cognitive decline, and even certain cancers. A landmark study published in the New England Journal of Medicine followed over 17,000 adults over 65 for 5 years and found that those with the highest blood levels of omega-3 fatty acids had a 27% lower risk of dying from any cause compared to those with the lowest levels. That is not a marginal benefit, that is a life-extending advantage, and mackerel delivers it in abundance. What makes mackerel particularly special for seniors is its incredible concentration of vitamin D, something that becomes desperately important after 75. Your skin's ability to produce vitamin D from sunlight decreases dramatically with age, and by the time you hit your mid-70s, you are producing roughly 75% less vitamin D than you did in your 30s. Vitamin D deficiency in seniors is directly linked to increased fall risk, bone fractures, muscle weakness, and depression. A single serving of mackerel provides nearly 90% of your daily vitamin D requirement, making it one of the most efficient natural sources available. Mackerel also delivers a powerful dose of vitamin B12, which is essential for nerve function and red blood cell production, both of which decline with age and can lead to anemia and neuropathy if left unchecked. The best way to prepare mackerel for maximum nutritional benefit is to bake it or grill it with the skin on, because much of the omega-3 fat is concentrated just beneath the skin, and cooking with the skin intact keeps those precious oils from escaping. Season it simply with some sea salt, cracked black pepper, a drizzle of olive oil, and some fresh herbs like rosemary or thyme. You can also enjoy canned mackerel, which is surprisingly just as nutritious as fresh, because the canning process actually softens the bones, making them edible and giving you an incredible boost of calcium that your aging skeleton desperately needs. Try mashing canned mackerel with a fork, mixing it with some diced celery, a little mustard, and lemon juice for a quick protein-packed lunch that takes about 2 minutes to prepare. Aim for 2 to 3 servings per week to maintain optimal omega-3 levels in your bloodstream. Now, if mackerel impressed you, wait until you hear what number 3 does for your bones and immune system. Number 3. Oysters. Here is something most doctors will not tell you during a routine checkup, and it is genuinely alarming. After the age of 75, your immune system undergoes a process called immunosenescence, which is essentially the gradual deterioration of your immune defenses. Your body produces fewer T cells, your antibody responses become sluggish, and your ability to fight off infections, viruses, and even cancer cells drops significantly. This is a major reason why pneumonia, influenza, and urinary tract infections become life-threatening conditions for people in this age group rather than just minor inconveniences. And one of the single biggest nutritional drivers of this immune collapse is zinc deficiency, which affects an estimated 40% of adults over 75, according to research published in the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition. This is where oysters enter the picture, and honestly, no other food on the planet even comes close to competing with them on this front. A single 3-ounce serving of oysters contains roughly 74 milligrams of zinc, which is over 600% of your daily recommended intake. To get the same amount of zinc from eggs, you would need to eat approximately 55 eggs. That comparison alone should tell you everything you need to know about why relying solely on eggs after 75 is a nutritional mistake. Zinc is the master mineral of your immune system. It activates over 300 different enzymes in your body that are involved in everything from wound healing to DNA synthesis to protein production. A clinical trial conducted at Wayne State University found that seniors who increased their zinc intake to adequate levels experienced a 50% reduction in the duration of common cold symptoms and a significant decrease in the incidence of pneumonia. But zinc is just the beginning of what oysters bring to the table. They are also one of the richest sources of vitamin B12 found in nature, delivering over 400% of your daily needs per serving. For seniors dealing with the fatigue, brain fog, and numbness in the hands and feet that often come with B12 deficiency, oysters can be genuinely transformative. They also contain high levels of iron, copper, and manganese, all of which support red blood cell production, connective tissue health, and bone density. 3 areas where aging bodies are most vulnerable. When it comes to eating oysters, you have several excellent options. Raw oysters on the half shell are a classic preparation, and they do preserve the maximum amount of nutrients. But for seniors with compromised immune systems, lightly steaming or baking oysters is actually the safer and recommended approach because it eliminates the risk of bacterial contamination while preserving the vast majority of the zinc and B12 content. Try baking oysters in the half shell with a tiny pat of garlic butter and a sprinkle of Parmesan cheese at 400 degrees for about 8 to 10 minutes. The result is absolutely delicious and gives you a nutritional payload that eggs simply cannot match. If fresh oysters are not available or accessible in your area, canned smoked oysters are a fantastic alternative. They are affordable, widely available, and retain most of the zinc and mineral content. You can eat them straight from the can on crackers or toss them into pasta or rice dishes for an easy mineral boost. If what oysters do for your immune system amazed you, the next seafood on this list is about to blow your mind with what it does for your heart. Number 2. Sardines. Sardines might be small, but when it comes to protecting your heart, your bones, and your brain after the age of 75, they are an absolute giant in the world of nutrition, and a growing number of cardiologists are starting to call them the single most heart-protective food available to humans. A study published in the journal Nutrients in 2021 followed over 1,000 adults over the age of 65 for a full year and found that those who consumed sardines regularly, just 2 servings per week, experienced a 36% reduction in their risk of developing type 2 diabetes, significant improvements in their cholesterol profiles, and measurable decreases in markers of chronic inflammation. These are the exact health metrics that determine whether someone over 75 thrives independently or ends up in a hospital bed. What makes sardines so extraordinarily effective is the combination of nutrients they deliver in a single tiny package. Because you eat the entire fish, bones and all, sardines are one of the most concentrated sources of dietary calcium available anywhere. A single can of sardines provides roughly 35% of your daily calcium requirement, and unlike calcium supplements which have been linked in studies to increased cardiovascular risk, the calcium in sardines is absorbed naturally and safely by your body alongside the vitamin D and omega-3 fatty acids that help direct it into your bones rather than your arteries. This is a critical distinction that most people miss. When you take a calcium pill, your body sometimes deposits that calcium in your arterial walls, contributing to the calcification that leads to heart attacks and strokes. But when calcium comes packaged naturally with vitamin D and vitamin K2, as it does in sardines, your body knows exactly where to put it, and that is in your bones where it belongs. Sardines also contain a rare nutrient called coenzyme Q10, or CoQ10, which is a compound your heart muscle cells need to produce energy efficiently. After 75, your natural CoQ10 production drops by as much as 50%, which is one of the reasons why heart failure becomes increasingly common in this age group. Eating sardines regularly helps replenish these CoQ10 levels naturally without the need for expensive supplements. The absolute best way to eat sardines is straight from the can, packed in extra virgin olive oil. The olive oil adds its own polyphenol antioxidants that work synergistically with the omega-3 fatty acids in the sardines to reduce inflammation and protect your arterial walls. Mash them on some whole grain toast with a little squeeze of lemon and some thinly sliced red onion for a meal that takes less than 3 minutes to prepare but delivers a nutritional punch that would put most so-called superfoods to shame. You can also toss canned sardines into salads, mix them into pasta with some cherry tomatoes and capers, or simply eat them right out of the can with a fork. There is no wrong way to eat sardines, and the more consistently you include them in your weekly routine, the more dramatic the benefits become. Research suggests that 3 to 4 servings per week is the sweet spot for maximum cardiovascular and bone protective benefits. And here is one more thing about sardines that most people do not realize. Because they are so low on the food chain, feeding only on plankton and tiny organisms, sardines contain virtually zero mercury and almost no environmental contaminants. This is a massive advantage over larger fish like tuna or swordfish, where mercury accumulation can become a real concern for seniors whose detoxification pathways have slowed considerably. With sardines, you get all of the benefit and none of the risk, which is exactly the kind of trade-off your body needs at this stage of life. Everything you have heard so far has been building to this moment because the number one seafood on this list is in a category all by itself. Number 1. Wild salmon. If there is one seafood that every single geriatric specialist, cardiologist, neurologist, and longevity researcher in the world agrees you should be eating after the age of 75, it is wild-caught salmon. The evidence supporting wild salmon as the ultimate food for aging bodies is so overwhelming and so consistent across decades of research that calling it anything less than a miracle food would honestly be an understatement. Let me walk you through exactly why. A massive meta-analysis published in the British Medical Journal in 2020 examined data from over 500,000 participants across multiple countries and concluded that adults who consumed fatty fish, like wild salmon, 2 or more times per week had a 25% lower risk of death from heart disease and a 17% lower risk of death from any cause compared to those who rarely ate fish. But what really sets wild salmon apart from every other seafood on this list, and from eggs especially, is its uniquely powerful combination of 2 specific omega-3 fatty acids called EPA and DHA. These are not just generic healthy fats. EPA, which stands for eicosapentaenoic acid, is your body's most potent natural anti-inflammatory compound. It directly inhibits the production of cytokines and prostaglandins, which are the chemical messengers that drive chronic inflammation throughout your body. For someone over 75 dealing with arthritis, joint pain, cardiovascular inflammation, or any of the dozens of conditions rooted in chronic inflammation, EPA is essentially nature's most effective fire extinguisher. DHA, or docosahexaenoic acid, is equally remarkable, but for entirely different reasons. DHA makes up roughly 40% of the polyunsaturated fatty acids in your brain, and it is absolutely essential for maintaining the structural integrity of your brain cell membranes. A landmark study from the Framingham Heart Study, one of the longest-running and most respected cardiovascular studies in medical history, found that participants with the highest blood levels of DHA had a 47% lower risk of developing dementia compared to those with the lowest levels. For anyone over 75 who is worried about Alzheimer's disease or cognitive decline, that single statistic should be enough to make wild salmon a permanent fixture on your plate. But the benefits do not stop at your heart and brain. Wild salmon is also one of nature's most concentrated sources of a unique peptide compound that has been shown in research at the University of Alberta to directly stimulate the production of collagen in aging joints, helping to rebuild cartilage that has worn away over decades of use. It contains high levels of selenium, which, as we discussed earlier, supports thyroid function and immune defense. It delivers a substantial dose of B vitamins, including B6 and B12, which are essential for energy production, nerve function, and the prevention of anemia. And unlike farm-raised salmon, which is often loaded with antibiotics, artificial coloring, and inflammatory omega-6 fatty acids from the corn and soy-based feed these fish are given, Wild-caught salmon gets its nutrients from its natural diet of krill, algae, and smaller fish in cold open waters, which is what gives it that deep reddish-orange color and that vastly superior nutritional profile. The very best way to prepare wild salmon to preserve its nutritional power is to bake it at 375 degrees for about 12 to 15 minutes with the skin side down on a parchment-lined baking sheet. Drizzle it with a little extra virgin olive oil, season it with salt, pepper, and a generous squeeze of fresh lemon juice, and let the oven do the rest. The key is to avoid overcooking it, because once the internal temperature goes above 145 degrees Fahrenheit, you start to break down those delicate EPA and DHA molecules. You want the center of the fillet to still be slightly translucent and moist. If fresh wild salmon is not available or is too expensive, canned wild salmon is an excellent and affordable alternative that retains virtually all of the omega-3 content and, like canned sardines, includes the softened bones which provide a tremendous calcium boost. You can mix canned salmon into patties with a little egg, some breadcrumbs, and diced onion. Then pan-sear them in olive oil for a quick and incredibly nutritious meal. Aim for a minimum of 3 servings per week, and if you can manage 4 or 5, even better. The research consistently shows that higher consumption of wild salmon correlates directly with better outcomes in heart health, brain function, joint mobility, and overall longevity. There is also emerging research from the Buck Institute for Research on Aging suggesting that the specific combination of nutrients in wild salmon may actually influence gene expression in a way that slows down biological aging at the cellular level by protecting telomeres, the protective caps on the ends of your chromosomes that shorten as you age. Longer telomeres are associated with longer, healthier lives, and participants who ate fatty fish, like salmon, regularly had measurably longer telomeres than those who did not. This is the one food that, if you change nothing else about your diet after watching this video, adding wild salmon alone could dramatically improve your quality of life for years to come. So there you have it, 5 incredible seafoods that science has proven are vastly superior to eggs for anyone over the age of 75. From the astaxanthin-powered antioxidant protection of shrimp, to the omega-3 density of mackerel, to the immune-rebuilding zinc in oysters, to the heart-saving calcium delivery system in sardines, all the way to the unmatched brain and body-protecting power of wild salmon. Each one of these seafoods addresses specific vulnerabilities that your aging body faces every single day. The research is clear, the evidence is overwhelming, and the best part is that none of these changes are complicated or expensive. Start incorporating even 1 or 2 of these into your weekly meals, and you will start feeling the difference sooner than you think. If you found this information valuable, and you want to keep learning how to protect your health as you age, hit that subscribe button right now and turn on notifications so you never miss a video. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one.